Welcome to the African News on Voice of the People television. I am Stilfonteinsouth. Before we begin the news, kindly visit our website at www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news stories. And for calling and WhatsApp, the number is 090-447-32605. 090-447-32605. South African police have launched a manhunt for a Lesotho gang member believed to have controlled operations at the illegal mine site. 78 bodies were recovered last week during a police siege at the mine, but many escaped. The alleged kingpin, known as Tiger, surfaced from the mine in Stilfontein while it was under police surveillance and escaped from custody with the help of officials, a statement from the South African Police Service said on Monday. Tiger is also being accused by some illegal miners of being responsible for some deaths, assaults, and torture that took place according to videos in police possession. He is also alleged at an Anglo Gold Ashanti mine on Saturday night. He added that 14 was severely injured in the incident at the Ubwasi gold mining site in the West African country's Ashanti region. Adam said it is unprecedented and difficult to understand why it happened, noting that in the past, trespassers on the site had been scared off with warning shots. Meanwhile, describing it as tragic, the presidency said in a statement on Sunday that Ghana's President John Mahama has ordered an immediate investigation into the incident. And according to the statement, the government has asked Anglo Gold Ashanti to cover the medical expenses of the injured and the cost of burials. In another development, the founder of Imani Africa, Franklin Kujo, has raised concerns about the transparency of President John Mahama's recent use of a private jet owned by his brother, Ibrahim Mahama, for official trips to the Gambia and Senegal. Facebook post on Sunday, Kujo acknowledged the explanation provided by the acting presidential spokesperson, Felix Kwaye Ofosu, that the trips incurred no cost to taxpayers due to the generosity of the president's brother. However, he queried the legal and ethical implications of such an arrangement. He requested Ofosu to state if the cost of the visit was classified as a gift to the state, given that the president's brother is a private citizen. Kujo's comments came amid growing public scrutiny of governance and accountability in Ghana, particularly with regards to financial declarations by public officials. It drew a comparison to the previous administration's finance minister, who, despite claiming not to draw a salary, presided over a period that left Ghana grappling with a debt crisis and a junk-related economy. In Kenya, Kenya has sent more than 200 police officers to Haiti, providing backup to an has displaced more than 1 million people. Some of 10 countries have gathered together, pledged over 3,100 for Haiti as part of a UN-backed anti-force, but few have so far deployed. Kenya's Interior Minister Kipchumba Murkomen revealed in a statement that the new group comprised 217 police from Kenya, who would join about 400 officers sent last year. The gangs have terrorized Haiti for years in their attempt to take control of the country, leading to thousands of deaths and mass displacement. Kenya has led the efforts to stop the multinational ruling party Chama cha Mapinduzi passed a resolution endorsing Samia Suluhu Hassan and Hussein Ali Mwinyi as official candidates for the Union and Zanzibar presidential elections, respectively. The resolution on Sunday followed a recommendation by former President Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete, who served as Tanzania's head of state from the year 2005 to 2015. It came amid overwhelming support from delegates at the party's National Congress held in the Tanzanian capital, Dodoma. Kikwete's endorsement followed delegates' repeated chants of their support for Hassan and Mwinyi, prompting cheers and applause that interrupted his speech. Noting that this Congress has the authority to so recommend, he, however, cautioned against bypassing the legal framework and urged Congress to ensure that the nomination process remained legally sound. Tanzania will hold its general elections for president and members of the National Assembly in October 2025. The leader of South Sudan People's Movement and Chief of Military Staff of the newly established opposition consortium United People's Alliance, Lieutenant General Stephen Bai-Runyang, has been promoted to the rank of a general. The promotion was announced by UPA leader Pagan Amum in a statement on Monday, and according to the statement, his promotion was pursuant to the resolution of the UPA Interim National Leadership Committee and General Command Council. The UPA, formed earlier this month, comprises based South Sudan People's Movement, the Real SPLM led by Amum, the South Sudan United Front led by General Paul Malong, and the NAS Revolutionary Command Council. The groups have been engaged in peace talks with the South Sudanese government in Nairobi under the Kenya-led Tumaini initiative. However, the talks have faced significant obstacles, with participants accusing each other of lacking the will to make progress. Police in Papua New Guinea are hunting an armed gang in the southern highlands after 4 of their colleagues were attacked last week, leaving 1 dead and 2 chopped up. Violence has rocked this country since the new year, with 9 people killed in anger and the butchered remains of a man in Central Province paraded as trophies in a video on social media. Another police officer was shot dead in neighboring Hela Province just before Christmas. The latest violence came as Prime Minister James Marape appealed for calm and respect for the law as the Pacific nation marks its 50th independence, calling for those responsible to be brought to justice. The minister warned that no one has the right to take the law into their hands. However, Acting Assistant Commissioner of Police and Commander of the Highlands Western Special Policing Zone, Joseph Tomdop, condemned those who attacked the place last week as enemies of the state and local terrorists. Tomdop said on Sunday that 4 members of the group known to police have until Monday to surrender or face the consequences. His orders came after they ignored his previous ultimatum to hand themselves in by last Friday. Joining us this beautiful Monday afternoon to analyze these stories is VOP in-house analyst, Barrister Darlington. Good afternoon, Barrister, and welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, Adefunke. How are you?
Very well, thank you. I'm sure you're doing well, too.
Okay.
African news. I mean, there's so much to talk about. Africa is about the most interesting continent in the world. You would agree with me. So let's talk about some of these stories as we look into the events in South Sudan, where the leader of South Sudan People's Movement and the chief of the military staff has been promoted to the rank of a general. Let me get your thoughts on this first.
What was he promoted for? For the killing that went down, or what? You see, this is one problem with African leaders. They like title, even the one they did not earn. This was how one Idi Amin called himself Field Marshal Idi Amin of Uganda, just because he was able to kill his countrymen, and that is where he fought his own battle. So I don't think the man deserved that promotion, because he didn't fight any external aggression. It's his own people that they are fighting and all that. I don't see why the promotion should come up, if not to reward infamy. And that means other people will equally strive to be promoted by, doing more killings and all that. So it's not too good. It's not.
Do you think that this is a strategy to be able to tame him or have him on the side of the people, maybe just so it can help the country instead of fighting against or working against the interest of the people?
No, whichever way you look at it, such title is not just give you. You must earn it. You must earn it, or you remain where you are. I don't see how that title will help the problem of in Sudan. I don't see how. So if they want to solve their problem, they should solve it first and stop all these promotions and
Okay, thank you for that response. Let's go to Ghana, where it's been reported that 7 illegal miners were allegedly killed following a shootout with the military in the land. And one would have thought that with the events of miners and illegal mining happening in most states in Africa, do you think that this is a sort of revolt against the government, or is it really poverty?
It is both, but majorly poverty. Because that of South Africa is very, very annoying. I mean, I don't see why people would just decide to go and commit suicide for nothing. If the mining site were properly mined and all that and taken care of, intruders may not have access to it now. The government on their own, they have been very careless in managing these abandoned mines and all that.
Yeah, but in the case of the event in Ghana, it's actually this Anglo Gold Ashanti mine, which it was said that there are illegal miners that crossed the fence. And of course, as much as the military, the Ghana Armed Forces were trying to curtail the situation and keep things in moderation, they shot at, they attacked the military, and there was a shootout. Even though some of these illegal miners have come to say that was not what happened.
Yes, it is their word against your own. But the fact remains that something happened. Whatever happened, I should blame the government, because if they don't want anybody to come near that mining site, nobody will go there. They created a loophole, and these hungry people capitalized on it. So the government should take the blame.
But the government is saying that they had to use lethal force because they needed to protect the life of the military and, of course, innocent citizens and properties around there.
There are many ways to ward off people from that place now. If they cordon it off, maybe they have a wall and perimeter fence and all that with electrified fences. Will people dare to cross there?
So some people have said that that's like a way to kill the people.
If you fence it?
That they should have electrocuted fences.
Yes, if they have electrifying
fences, sorry.
Perimeter fence and the wire, why would anybody, when you know that there's danger, will you go there? It's the perfect way to ward them off. If you now go there and die, you can't blame government. So
going there now to, attack the military, you think that we should still blame the government? Let's say this is their style of, keeping the place safe. Because one would agree also that having such kind of fence might endanger even people with, good intentions.
No, they had to attack the military. They went on a suicide mission. How can you blame the military? They returned fire now. Why would you go there to attack people who were kept there to man the place? You deliberately committed whatever, or rather you deliberately committed a crime, and you want people to clap for you. No. You are an illegal miner. Illegal miner, that is the word. Nobody authorized you to go there. So what did you go there to go and do? Or do you think when you attack the military, they will run away for you? It's not possible.
Well, the military actually alleged that they were attacked. But these miners are saying that was not the scenario, that they were not even with any form of arms, as at the time the military came on them and started killing their personnel.
What were they doing there?
That's a question to ask, really. So whether they were with arms or not, the military is justifiable that they had to protect the properties?
My take is that they should avoid what happened in South Africa. All the mining sites in Africa, please, such stories are not too good. You can't allow your people to be dying needlessly for whatever reason. Take precautionary measures to ward off these intruders. It will save both government and the people a lot of sorrow. Look at what happened in South Africa. Up to tomorrow, I still wonder. Because in the data of South Africa, they were given opportunity to come out. The government provided an avenue for them to come out. They refused. They were digging into the trenches until almost 80% of them died there. Because of what? Heat and everything. Meanwhile, government was telling them, come out, come out. They did all they could. The people refused because they were giving them food until government stopped sending them food and water. So, I mean, it's not too good.
Yeah,
So,
as a follow-up to the issue in South Africa, there's actually a recent development that says that there is a gang master called Tiger, whom the South African police is currently looking for at the time. And some of these illegal miners have said that beyond the government now, that he even stopped some of the people, he blocked access for them to get food, that even as they were on the ground, there were supplies of food that they still had there, but he ensured that it was only himself and a few people that were probably loyal to his government, as it were, that could get food. So now they are even shifting the blame away from the government to say that even inside of the government, there is another government that has ensured to kill the people. So what do you make of this? What was the way forward for Africa when gangsterism has become a trend and people tend to applaud them?
That's what happens when you have a weak government. Most African states are too weak to manage renegade individuals. Some gangsters have become so powerful. And it is through this type of activity that makes them to be powerful. Whatever they get from this illegal mining, they will now sell it and then become so rich and so powerful to challenge the government. That is how it goes. So African leaders should wake up. They cannot give room for gangsterism only to turn around and start looking for somebody to blame. If the government is really serious, I don't think there's any individual that's more powerful than the government, except the government decided to be weak. If not, government have the capacity to take down anybody and any group. So if they look the other side and pretend it's nothing, then when this small group become a monster, they may not be able to tame them again. No?
There are even reports that he was aided to escape. I mean, coming from a police officer, official coming publicly to make such claims.
Exactly.
Don't you think that they failed in their responsibilities?
It's all part of the weak government we are talking about, corruption. I told you that this kind of thing cannot go on except the government allows it. I told you. And I know what I'm saying. So go and check. 1 or 2 government officials are involved. They were the one aiding and abetting because of what they get in return. So you can see now, government will blame itself. Even when the officials are there, this guy escaped. How did that happen?
So can we say that these are, people working, civil servants in the country? Because in the case of Ghana, we just have a president that was newly sworn in. Would you totally blame him for this event?
Why not? The moment you are on seat, from that minute, governance starts. You don't give excuse. You don't have to stay there for 20 years before you know what is it. Take immediate action. That is how government works. If you give any room for liturgy, this powerful group will take advantage of it. So they should have acted promptly.
All right, thank you very much. Let's also go into this allegation. It's been reported that the founder of Imani Africa, that's Franklin Kojo, he has raised concern about the transparency of President John Mahama's recent use of a private jet owned by his brother Ibrahim Mahama for official trips to Gambia and Senegal. Let me get your reaction to this first.
The brother to the president owns the private jet?
Yes.
Eh?
Yes.
If it is part of saving costs, why not?
Will you say the same for any other country in the world?
Sorry?
Will you say the same for any other country in the world? Because the allegations are, if you are saying that you are saving costs, what exactly was the intention behind using that private facility jet when there are government-owned properties that can be used? Except
there was monetary transaction in between. Then they should probe it and see whether it was properly done or properly followed. But apart from that, government can, yes, In terms of exigencies, they can, hire private, transport to carry out government business. I don't think there's anything strange about it.
They are even saying that there were no costs incurred while doing this. But let's look at it from a legal and ethical angle. Does it seem right?
I've told you there's nothing wrong in it, though. As long as there was no monetary, undue monetary influence. That's what I think.
So while on the trip, what if there are transactions that had happened while on that trip?
These are the things the accusers will have to bring to the table. Let us know. When he hired the jet, how much was paid? Is it commensurate with if he had taken government property? The expenses that was incurred, was it proper or it was overinflated and all that? So these are the things we have to look at. Apart from that, I don't think I don't think anybody can, bicker over that. It's the brother's private jet, and the brother in government said, look, let us use this thing for social trip. Yeah, he's saving the government some cost now.
So that's a welcome development, in your opinion?
Yeah, in my opinion, as long as there are no corruption allegation here.
Okay.
If you are saying a private, we have seen it. Even in Nigeria, at times, yes, people hire private this thing. There was a time Oshiba just plane was having issues. I think a private company came to the rescue. Abi, it happens,
Those are different scenarios. There was an issue. There was an emergency.
In this case,
and
now,
it was a business transaction. In this case, he's saying that it was just a brother's, gesture to the nation.
In this case, do you know why the man even took the brother's jet? Maybe he feels safer. Anything can happen. In Africa, there are mysterious plane crashes that you cannot explain. So the man felt his brother said this thing would do the job. Why not?
So if he feels threatened or he feels like there's something wrong with what was supposed to be used, you feel like it is totally fine for him not to address the situation if there was any sense of threat?
He will do the trip. Then when he come back, he address whatever is the problem. We can only frown at it if he continuously use the brother jet. Are you getting what I'm saying?
Right.
This is just one-off. So there must be a reason. But if he continue, then it's no longer a joke. Something is behind it.
All right. Thank you very much for that response again. Let's move to Tanzania, where the the ruling party have passed the resolution endorsing Samia Suluhu Hassan. That's the current president of Tanzania, who also doubles as the first female president of Tanzania. And the party has also given their trust to her to run again. What do you make of this news?
That's another kudos to the women folk. Abi, you people should be happy now. Your gender is making strides in the political scene. But will they allow her to operate? Will they allow her to work? That's another thing. If she's strong enough, she can weather the storm. Because in Africa, one of the reasons why women don't thrive so much is because of the nature of politics in Africa. A lot of things come to play, from juju to fetish object to witchcraft and all that. So most times that's why women they back down. But if a woman has managed to cross that glass ceiling, we should encourage her, so that it will be a good development for the country. Because one, she may not be too quick to embezzle money. That is one thing you must give to the women folk. All this money that men always pack and, even the one they don't need. It will be difficult for you to see a female president, doing that kind of thing. She won't indulge in wanton looting and all that. That's the more reason why we should encourage the women to be in important positions, because they can protect the economy more than the men.
Well, looking at her political profile, she rose through ranks from House of Reps member to being minister and, of course, vice president. But reports also have it that this recommendation came from the former president. And you would like to look at the place of godfatherism in this recommendation.
And if she is qualified, after all, somebody must recommend somebody. Over the years, Tanzania has proved to be an epitome of good governance in Africa, from Julius Nyerere to people that came after, not except a few of them that misbehaved. But all in all, Tanzania, yeah, they are doing good politically. Yeah.
So for you, she's good to go?
Why not? As long as she was recommended based on good character, not on nepotism or whatever.
All right. Thank you very much. Let's talk about the general that was promoted. We mentioned that earlier. What do you think is the way forward for Africans to celebrate patriotic citizens other than celebrating people that are power drunk?
In fact, when you identify such people and recommend them for higher office, it is better for that country. I'm telling you, 90% of the time, the wrong people are in office in Africa. And that is why things are going south. 90% of the time. If you identify good hands, why not make use of them? Instead of bringing in ethnic, religious, tribal sentiment and all that. And by so doing, you will lose a good hand that would have helped to make things better. Because you cannot give what you don't have. We are not equally endowed. There are people who are occupying office, they don't even know why they are there. They don't know why they are there, just because their brother is in a higher position appointed, and they just sit down there and mess up. So the only way is for them to identify good hands and then reward them with good appointments so that the country can move forward.
So far in Africa, we've had military regimes, even as a nation, and of course there are countries practicing democracy. On a scale of preference, how well do you think Africa has done so far in terms of governance?
We are not doing good at all. We are not.
Both under military regime and democracy?
In fact, the civilian is worse, seriously. I'm using Nigeria as a case study. The civilians are worse. The civilians are worse. If not that some of us, they will accuse us of whatever. If you reminiscence about the military and when they were in office, you will now see the difference. The level of stealing, the level of killing, the level of impunity, the level of corruption is too high under the civilian administration. So how can I praise them? Look at all the money that we are owing to the over 134 trillion. Where is the evidence in Nigeria? Where is the evidence? These people just share this money, they go and start it somewhere in Europe and America. Is that governance? The civilian regime in Nigeria is worse. Seriously, it's worse. I'm not joking, it's worse. The facts are there. Look at how people are suffering in the midst of plenty. Is that a regime? No. Some military government is far, far better. At least the people stealing money, there are few. But here, from the judiciary to the legislature, from the legislature to the executive, then party officials and other governors. Imagine all these characters looting one purse. It's a matter of time before that pot will become empty. I'm telling you, it's a matter of time before it will become empty.
But dictatorship has also made a lot of African citizens to lose the true essence of being African. I mean, their self-esteem totally destroyed. A lot of Africans would rather relocate to other continents to even do the barest minimum for survival rather than stay back home. So don't you think that there's a way where African leaders can come together and agree on how to move Africa forward? But how can this be done when we are not even on the same page? Our ideologies are not even the same when it comes to leadership style.
AU is just on paper. AU is just a paper tiger. In fact, it's a talk shop. They have never done anything right. Because I was thinking that AU should come in whenever a rogue government is in place in any country. But all this non-interference, sovereignty of a state, some government will be hiding under it and be doing a lot of havoc to their people until maybe things get out of hand. AU should be proactive. When things are going bad, they should step in and not wait. That's why they are there. But if you are now waiting for the country to call you to say, come on, they will not call you. Shame will not allow them. It is you who is watching from afar that will know that things are not good in this country, that things are getting out of hand. So you step in. That's why you are a regional, you are a continental body. You know, instead of waiting until all of us now carry arm, then Western powers will now be bringing palliative and all that to save us from ourselves. Meanwhile, you have a body that should have intervened. They don't even have a standing force. Are you aware? Here you don't have a standing force that can move in and stop any rascality in any country. Here you don't have.
Don't you think that is because they don't share the same ideologies? I mean,
then
countries in Africa.
Why did they come together? What did they say? They should now disband it and then, so that we know that it does not exist. That's the truth. If they can look at the EU, look at NATO. These are regional blood that are always watching the back of their members. If you want to start a third world war today, go and hit one NATO member.
But that's not to say they don't have their issues too.
They may have issues, but they always protect themselves. Even Ukraine that is not a full member of NATO, look at what they are doing for them.
Okay.
So if we have something like that, don't you think we will have more respect? Then some of these countries, when they want to do, if they remember that there is a very powerful force that will come in and deal with them, they will think twice. But when there is no control, nobody to reprimand anybody, everybody is all acting on his own.
Thank you very much for your time and sharing your insight with us, Barrister Darlington. You're still watching the African News on Voice of the People TV. Bilateral ties Egypt to activate strategic partnership with Europe. These and many more when we return. Please stay with us. Egyptian Foreign Minister Bad Abdelatif has kicked off a visit to Brussels and Strasbourg for talks with European officials. The visit began on Sunday amid a follow-up on activating the strategic partnership between Cairo and the European Union. The Foreign Ministry statement said that meetings during his first stop in Brussels will bolster cooperation with the EU. The minister is scheduled to hold talks with senior European officials, including head of the European Council and chief of foreign policy. It will also meet with heads of major Belgian companies and members of the Egyptian diaspora. Egypt and Europe are keen on strengthening and developing their relations to the level of comprehensive strategic partnership, as announced during a summit in Cairo in March. The summit was attended by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, head of the European Commission, and the presidents and prime ministers of Cyprus, Italy, Austria, and Greece. In Strasbourg, the home of the European Parliament, Al-Belati will meet with its speaker and heads of various parliamentary political groups and committees concerning with following up on the development of ties between Egypt and EU, added that the foreign ministry statement. Back home, meanwhile, Egyptian human rights activist Hossam Bagat was released on bail after facing charges of joining and financing the terrorist group and spreading false news. The Egyptian Initiative for Personal Rights said Bagat was released on Sunday. Bagat, who is last week by Egypt's Supreme State Security Prosecution and questioned for over 3 hours without any form of information on the nature of the investigation or accusation, the group said. EIPR condemned the terrorism charges and called for all allegations against Bagat to be dropped. EIPR said this was the fourth investigation initiated by prosecutors against the organization since the year 2020, solely due to its work defending human rights in Egypt. The group referred to its appeal to the Prosecutor General to investigate claims made by detainees on hunger strike protesting their extended pretrial detention and poor conditions of confinement at Egypt's tent of Ramadan prison. According to Amnesty International, the Egyptian authorities have a history of trying to intimidate Bagat and the EIRP staff. The ambassador to Sudan to South Sudan, Issa Muhammad Hassan, has stated that the embassy's readiness to register and facilitate the voluntary return of Sudanese citizens back home. Last week, some videos circulating on social media of South Sudanese being killed in Wad Madani, the capital of Sudan's Al Jazeera state, raised concern about the safety of thousands of South Sudanese stranded in Sudan. The killings captured on camera after the Sudan Armed Forces took control of Wad Madani from the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces on 11 January sparked violent protests in Juba and other towns in South Sudan on Thursday night and Friday morning. The protests were met with heavy security response, leading to arrests, though those detained were later released. Speaking on the state-owned South Sudan Broadcasting Corporation on Sunday, however, Ambassador Hassan said they received assurance from President Salva Kiir that Sudanese living in the country will be protected. And according to him, Kiir assured their protection until these problems end and peace and stability return. In South Sudan, it's been launched a $53 million electricity access project to light the cities across the country and enhance critical infrastructure. The Accelerating Sustainable Energy Access and Institutional Strengthening in South Sudan project, funded by the World Bank and Japan, aims to power Juba, Ye in Central Equatoria States, and Malakal in Upper Nile State, marking a transformative step in the country's energy sector. The project was unveiled by Vice President for Infrastructure Cluster, Taban Deng Gai, who highlighted the critical link between the electricity access and national growth. Speaking at the event, Deng reflected on the historical significance of electrification in the vision of South Sudan's liberation movement. You're still watching the African News on Voice of the People TV. Business stories after the break. Please stay with us. Welcome back. In another development, Mozambique's Seoul International Market bond tumbled in value on Monday. This follows a news report that the new government is weighing a debt restructuring following weeks of post-election protests that have impacted state revenues. The bond, which matures in September 2031, dropped more than 2 cents on the day to 81.5 cents on the dollar. It had fallen as low as 78.6 cents at the end of last year after a series of deadly protests in the wake of a hotly contested presidential election in October. Despite accusations of vote rigging by the opposition, the disputed winner Daniel Chapo of the ruling Frelimo party was sworn in to office last week. The country's new finance minister, Carla Lovera, was quoted by Bloomberg on Sunday as saying that the government was now weighing debt restructuring with work on one currently ongoing. Ethiopia's nominal GDP measured in United States dollar fell drastically from $207 billion in June 2024 to $100 billion in September 2024, according to Ethiopia's Ministry of Finance quarterly government debt report released over the weekend. This significant decline is attributed to the introduction of a market-based foreign exchange trading system in July 2024, the report indicated. The devaluation of the Ethiopian birr led to sharp reduction in the country's GDP when converted to dollars. And according to the report, the GDP figure, which stood at $207 billion a month before the currency adjustment in June 2024, dropped to $100 billion within 3 months. As a result of these changes, Ethiopia's total public debt to GDP ratio rose from 32.9% in June 2024 to 50.3% by September 2024. The government's external debt grew from $28.8 billion to $31 billion during this period, followed by the exchange rate adjustment and new loans from the International Monetary Fund (IMF) and the World Bank, totaling $1.6 billion. And in sports, Mark Alga secured their place in the Total Energies CAF Champions League quarterfinals following a goalless draw against Young Africans in Tanzania on Saturday. The Algerian side needed just a point to join already qualified Al Hilal in the knockout stages, and their professional display saw them finish second in Group A with 9 points. The stalements ended Young African hopes of progression, with the Tanzanian champions finishing third on 8 points despite an impressive debut campaign in the group stages. The result means both Mark Alga and Al Hilal advanced from Group A, with TP Mazembe finishing bottom despite their convincing victory over Al Hilal in the other match. South Africa's efforts to bring Formula One back to the country have intensified, and the bidding process has begun already. The announcement was made at the weekend by the country's Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, DSAC, marking an important step in the country's bid to host Formula One again after more than 30 years. The DSAC says it has officially launched the tender process. The last Formula One race in South Africa took place in 1993 when the Kyalami circuit hosted the South African Grand Prix, which turned out to be Allianz Pro's last victory. The DSAC also disclosed that it has invited interested promoters to participate in the official tender as they seek a suitable partner to organize the Formula One Grand Prix. The tender documentation published on the DSAC website this weekend states that they are looking to partner a 10-year contract. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we are Voice of the People TV. And across other social media platforms, you can follow us at VOP Live. I am Adefunke Jayesimi. Good afternoon.